if you guys knew the trouble we had to go through to get this working and up and running, so that you guys could look at our faces while we spoke to you, you would be so proud of us right now. You'd be celebrating. There'd be confetti flying around you. You would have gone, purchased confetti, and set it off. But welcome to the inaugural, the first episode of Disciples of Combat in studio.
The debut.
This is the debut. You know, you only get one debut. You only debut once. And this is it. This is number one.
Yeah.
I am Alex. This is Joey.
I am him.
Joey, do you have any comments? This is the first. This is it. This is
we made it. I feel famous and rich already. I'm glad my mom doesn't have to work anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, this is just life changing.
Big for you, huh?
Yeah, YouTube money.
Wow.
I'm done.
Yeah, I didn't know that this was it. I thought we would have to like do some more episodes, but no, this is it.
Yeah, no, I figured
this will be our only episode.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, a lot to talk about. Certainly a lot to talk about. And if you are an MMA fan, this is the time of your life. I know we're in the middle of a global pandemic and everything's closed, but because the UFC has been going, it's felt like we've had a fight every week. And we quite literally have had multiple weeks in a row with fights and multiple events in the week.
It's brought about like a special time to be a UFC fan, because not only is the UFC like reaching, the ESPNs of the world and whatnot, but now it's literally the only one that's got the platform. So in just a 1 year's time, they went from joining the big dogs on ESPN to now being the only big dog on ESPN, which is, crazy. If Dana and the UFC wouldn't have made these things happen, ESPN as well, taking a chance on them. It's just crazy how it's progressed. Now they're literally the only live sport.
It's insane.
On there.
It's insane because there was a time where the UFC was not considered a sport.
Right.
They called it human cockfighting.
Yeah.
And now
the companies that report on it are called Bloody Elbow and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
How's that one of the most?
Yeah. And now it's like it's a prime time slot.
Yeah.
It's just and honestly, it's evolved so much. It's become such a huge thing. Everything around it. I think eventually it'll be something like, it'll be one of the big American sports.
Yeah.
I really do. I genuinely believe that sports like hockey, sports like even baseball is always going to have that popularity. But I wonder if like the UFC will overtake boxing in global popularity one day.
I think it's already getting to that place in terms of boxing. I think what we're seeing now is the money side of things, like the UFC getting sophisticated to where the fighters are getting what they're worth, and the fighters are treated like the NFL players are. Once it becomes like a respected thing where it's known like, oh, you're an NFL quarterback or whatever, you're an NBA player, we know how much the cap has increased in the past few years and the type of money the NBA players are making. Now it's just a matter of getting that feather in the cap of like, you make it to that show and you made it. But in terms of like platform-wise, they've really, the platform is there, like they're starting to gain the same sort of popularity in terms of like producing stars. Like compare Conor McGregor, of course he's the elephant of the sport, but just like the NFL's Patrick Mahomes, the NBA's LeBron James, every sport has its, star of stars. But right now, who's got a bigger star? If Conor were active,
I think he's the biggest star. I think he might be the biggest star in definitely in the top 5 of sports, period.
Yeah.
Just sports. Not combat sports, just sports. He has to be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Who do you have? You have LeBron James, you have a Tom Brady, you have maybe who else is
I mean, you've got your Messi and Ronaldo and stuff.
I guess international, for sure. Yeah, international stars.
But yeah, definitely stateside.
It has to be the top 5, especially in America. I think anytime Conor's fighting, you see the numbers increase, but also the interest around it increases.
Yeah.
Another thing is the journalistic credibility of the sport is increasing, where a guy like Ariel Helwani is courtside at a basketball game.
Right, regularly on SportsCenter.
Right,
you know how there's Woj and Adam Schefter are like the guys for their respected sports. It's like, okay, now the world's starting to know Ariel Helwani, who used to just be on a YouTube channel and used to stream a show on Mondays. You know, it's like,
and Brett Okamoto too. Guys like
Right now he's kind of coming into the space Ariel was in, and Ariel's kind of transcending and going to TV now rather, and Brett is filling that void and doing a lot of the streaming, like journalistic type work where he's just kind of searching out specific fighters, where Ariel is like his own platform, his own hub, where Mondays everybody comes to him, kind of deal. Like,
well, let's talk fights.
Yeah, let's talk.
Let's talk about what happened this last week. We had an event Wednesday. We had an event on Saturday, and if you were watching, particularly the Saturday event, very interesting. Like, for some reason, the cards that don't have a lot of the big names. I mean, Saturday had bigger names.
Right.
You had Kelvin Gastelum fighting on that card. You had Davison Figueiredo and Joseph Benavidez and Alexander Hermanson, Jack Hermanson. Sorry. Jack Hermanson, who's a rising star. So they're bigger names, but Wednesday's card, not really any big names.
Right.
But both of those cards were incredible in terms of the fights themselves.
Yeah, and like for the hardcore fans, I feel you could see some of those weird stylistic matchups, like a Jack Hermanson versus a Kelvin Gastelum. Like, that's so weird, and that's a fight that is not for the masses. That's not like, oh, let's put this guy's hype train against this guy's, like legacy and try and build the hype train or build the guy with the legacy. Like, that's, there's typically some sort of, but with that sort of fight, Jack Hermanson isn't known to the masses. And Kelvin Gastelum even, he's had some big fights on big stages, but, it's like that was just for the hardcores. That was just for the sport. That was just to put two top guys together to make a contender, and not even like a true title contender where one is now like the stage is set for them to challenge for the title next. That was just kind of for the real niche fans. Yeah. And even with like Benavidez versus Figueiredo, it's like that 125 title, that's the way it's always been, those lighter divisions too, is they're more for the hardcore guys. Like, the little guys are going to be more technical, show you more so like what's possible with the sport, but they're not going to, get the same public reception as like Francis Ngannou versus a Stipe or something could look on a poster, or DC versus Francis, you're not getting a lot of the elements that you do with the bigger weight classes or the star-driven weight classes, whereas 125 is like for the hardcores as well, so there's just a lot of elements to a card like that where it's like just for the hardcores, but the hardcores also know that card's guaranteed to be fireworks, because it's like, okay, all these fights aren't built off of Street Jesus versus the Nigerian Nightmare. Like, no, this is just Joseph Benavidez versus Figueiredo. Like two guys, whereas like it's two celebrities kind of building a spectacle in a lot of the bigger shows.
And how often have we seen that be a disappointment? Like,
because they don't even have the skills to match the spectacle. Like Masvidal and Diaz, they're better entertainers than they are fighters, as weird as that is to say. Like, Masvidal is not the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, but he's a better entertainer than Khabib, but Khabib would smash him. So it's like the sport is in a weird place to where the biggest cards aren't the best fighters.
Right, yeah,
and that's just facts,
But that puts the UFC in this scenario where they are forced to push the guys that are really good because they're winning and they can't stop winning. But they're also wanting to push the guys that are marketable. Right. We saw that with Darren Till. Right. And, which is good to mention because he's about to fight Robert Whittaker. Yeah. And I feel like Darren Till is... I think they're trying to put Darren Till over again.
Yes. I think we're seeing the resurrection, so to speak.
They're trying to put him over again, and they're trying to put him over by putting him against tough guys that the UFC thinks Darren Till can beat. Yeah. It's a conspiracy, but I feel like they're like, okay, Robert Whittaker coming off of a knockout loss, Kelvin Gastelum losing to the same guy.
Even Masvidal, when at the time, that's like exactly what in the moment, it looked like, like a good name. Yeah. but somebody who wasn't in the place to be able to beat Darren in that moment. It looked like a good stylistic matchup and a good promotional Dan's partner as well. Whereas this fight, you know, in a way they're putting him over, but really they're throwing him to a dog. And Whittaker, you know, a guy who can, you know, anybody who can stand in the face of Yoel for 10 rounds, you know,
10 rounds.
However you think those fights went, whether you think he won, lost, whatever. It's like...
It was a fight, though.
And,
he didn't stand in front of him.
He endured...
Like Israel Adesanya Yoel fight.
Yes.
There was a lot of action and a lot of pain for both sides.
Yes.
So even if he wins, loses, doesn't matter. He didn't get finished by a guy like Yoel.
Right.
And Darren Till, while he has the magic touch, right, he has the touch of death. Who coined that term? Was it Dan?
Faraz Zahabi.
Faraz Zahabi. It was about Conor when he said it, right? Yeah, I think Darren Till has a similar style, and I think that's why the UFC wants to push him, because he's marketable. He's an international star, and his fighting style is beautiful.
Right. He's a finisher, a striker,
and he's entertaining. He is the whole package. He's a hilarious guy.
Yeah.
I love watching his interviews. I like the way he says "but." He goes "boh."
Yeah.
Boh. Yeah. He's hilarious though. What do you think of his teeth?
Those are nice. I say
fake?
Oh, for sure. I say
like all of them?
Yeah, he's got a whole set of veneers, it looks like.
Wow. So
I think he's got at least like 50 to 100 bands in that grill right there. Damn. Yeah, that's impressive.
But why did he change his teeth were just messed up?
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
he's British. That's a thing for them.
Yeah, they got that.
I'm sorry if you're listening and you're British.
Yeah, all of our UK listeners.
Yeah, all of you. Family Guy always, whenever they have somebody who's British, their teeth are always exaggerated and messed up. And so I guess that's a thing. Anyway, Darren Till. I was getting into Darren Till because I feel like the UFC is trying to throw him, Robert Whittaker, as hey, you win this fight, it puts you over. You just beat Gastelum.
Yeah. Not
convincingly, but he beat him. And then
convincingly, not impressively, maybe?
Yeah, not in dominant fashion, like not decisively in a way that would put you over.
Right, it wasn't like the cowboy win for him.
Yeah, it was. He needs something to put him over again. He needs a stylistic finish or just a really good dogfight.
Yeah,
that makes
he showed he belongs in the weight class. He needs to now make it. This fight needs to say, "Hey, I'm the guy here."
Gotcha.
You know, and I think that if he has another Gastelum type fight where it's just a close fight that he definitely won, I don't know if it's enough to put him over. You know, it might take something to really put him into that place. But at the same time, who else are you giving the next title shot? Of course, over what's already made in Adesanya versus Boachinia, the Eraser.
Let's just talk about that really quick.
Yeah.
Since we're kind of
bouncing around.
We're bouncing around. Listen, those two fight nights were phenomenal. Davison Figueroa is a terrifying Terminator of a human being. I was afraid for my safety as I was watching him choke Joseph Benavidez unconscious. Mm-hmm. What incredible heart Joseph has, though, to go out. You could tell he really wanted to win that fight. Yeah, definitely. He wanted it badly because he got put in that he got his back taken and he got put in a really bad position early and escaped. And you could tell he was not giving up. He wasn't breaking. Because I've seen fights where a guy gets in that position, and it's like, all right, he has it. Mm-hmm. So they might not give up, but a part of them might just recognize it's a foregone conclusion and kind of let that choke sink in. He fought it all the way through, even at the end, so much so that he went out. So I can't say enough about him, but I also can't say enough about the other guy, Davison, who was just an animal.
An animal.
Violent and dominant was that.
Yeah, it was scary. It was scary, and now immediately, the first thing I hear is they're talking about sending 135ers down to fight him, which they're saying him versus Garbrandt is what they're trying.
Him versus Garbrandt. That's an interesting fight.
Yeah, because at the same time, it's like, okay, maybe somebody at his size, I can see why they want to see him against somebody bigger, but at the same time, I don't see sending him a depleted opponent as being, what helps somebody hold up to that pressure against him. I think that at 125, really, it's his time right now, and I think we're gonna see him smash some dudes. Yeah, and
that's all he's.
And then we're gonna see him go up,
smashing machine, man.
Yeah,
there was a lot of great finishes. You had the heel hook, Jack Hermanson heel hooking Kelvin Gastelum in the first round. No one saw that coming.
The knee bar.
The knee bar was brutal. What's her name? Lipsky?
Yeah.
Her name is Lipsky.
What was it? The Queen of Violence.
Queen of Violence.
Yeah, that was the only part of the name I remembered.
Listen, she was in a calf slicer. Mm-hmm. In one. And for those of you listening, a calf slicer is basically when, like, it's a submission where there's so much pressure on your calf that it's
like the shin bone behind. If this was the opponent's shin, it's like behind my calf, and they're like squeezing my leg.
Like put a bar right now, if you have a bar nearby. Put it behind your calf, and like just like pin your shin against something, and just press and press and press and press as hard as you can.
Yeah.
It starts to hurt. It feels like your calf is being like torn in half. Well, the girl that won the fight, the Queen of Violence, she was in a calf slicer, maybe kind of inadvertently. And the person on bottom had her in that, and she just grabbed the leg for the knee bar, which she was able to finish in a calf slicer. I wonder if she was in pain, because it looked
calf slicers hurt so bad. But the thing is, a calf slicer isn't really like manipulating ligaments or whatever to where you're in a ton of danger. So it does create a huge stimulation because there's a lot of nerves and stuff in here. Yeah. But there's not really a real threat of like, oh my God, I'm about to get my knee blown apart. Whereas like a heel hook, when that thing's in, it's like, all right, it's either risk blowing that knee out or, but a thing that leaves you vulnerable when you're going for a calf slicer on somebody and they know that they don't need to tap right away is you figure for the legs a lot. So she had the girl on bottom had the calf slicer in with this shin, but had her opposite leg figure forward. So she's, pulling on her opponent over this shin, trying to get her here, get the pressure there, whereas she's figure forward, leaving this leg exposed. So now this leg got pulled up and knee barred, while she was trying to like squeeze the free leg of her opponent or the trapped leg of her opponent. She had one leg getting like pulled up, and it's
now you guys know what an arm bar is. It's manipulating this joint here. So this is getting hyperextended. Mm-hmm. So think the same thing for a knee. Yeah. And if you watch that fight, I was like wincing, like I'm a little squeamish, right? Yeah. And so I'm looking and I'm like, oh gosh, that's definitely going to hyperextend and I'm also, when I'm watching these submissions, I'm also looking at where the ref is, because sometimes I'm like, he's not going to see this person tap. Yeah. Where he's standing, like, bro, go. Or
it's like, oh, he's a couple strides away, so yeah. Sure, there's going to be a tap, and then there's going to be a distance closing, and it's like when you got a leg cranked back, those couple, that split second of closing the distance, that girl on bottom was in agony, and she just dumped over to the side and was kind of nursing that. So hopefully
what a finish though for her.
Definitely.
But yeah, a lot of great finishes. Jack Hermanson sinks that heel hook.
Yeah, that outside heel hook.
It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. Very, very very Jack Hermanson, right?
Yeah, just exactly what you weren't expecting.
Right, which is what you should expect.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, it's what you should expect with Jack. Yeah. What is the least probable outcome? He's probably going to do that. But let's talk about Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa.
Yeah.
I heard that fight is not actually done yet. Mm-hmm. That's Dana White said. That somebody.
Yeah, one side is still up in the air.
If I had to get, which side do you think hasn't signed?
So I see Boachinia, Paulo Costa as the hardest person to work with. Over the years, he's like this fight has been postponed because of his surgery. But now he's like the one screaming that Israel won't sign or something like that. But it's like the fight got pushed back because of you. So really, like, he waited for you, because now he's saying like he wants an interim shot and stuff. And it's like, what? Israel's been waiting for you to get healthy, so now you want an interim title shot? So maybe his perspective would show that Israel is dangling this out, waiting for money. But I don't know. It's tough to say.
You can tell Dana's a little frustrated with Costa.
Yeah.
Because every time he talks about him, he's like I remember when they asked him about the fight and when it was going to happen, and he was like, that's the next fight. We're just waiting for him.
Yeah. Because you got to think, when he beat Robert Whittaker, he ran over with Joe to the cage and was like, look at the gorilla exhibit, and was like getting him to pan over to Paulo Costa, but he had already been removed.
Adesanya is so funny.
Yeah, and if that moment would have queued up, if he wouldn't have been removed from the crowd, and if they would have had a pan through the cage to him showing you to the gorilla exhibit, and it being Paulo Costa being held back, oh my God, that would have been perfect promo. Would have been perfect.
He is so good. Like, Israel is so good. He understands He understands all of this dynamic of appeal, but he's also a master at his craft.
Yeah, it takes all the elements.
How do you think that fight goes?
That's
a very interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know if we should give our foregone conclusions on it. Maybe hold our predictions on that.
That's true, because this is coming up. When is this fight?
This is until September 19th, apparently. But, just giving a little insight, just, first kind of thoughts on how it goes. You got a bull in a china shop versus a matador. So it's like, all right, one guy's style fits perfectly to the other guy's style, but at the same time, that bull is only thinking, let me smash this guy. So Paulo Costa's
smash.
Like, all right, I'm going to smash this guy. Even though he's got his matador thing, I'm not falling for it. And Israel's just like, ole, so it's like, are we going to get that ole and then that crack coming after it? Or, is he going to catch Israel on while Israel's setting a trap? Is he going to have the foresight to trap Israel in one of Israel's own traps, like bait Israel into one of his own exits and catch Israel on an exit, or, there's just a lot of layers to this, and it comes down to who has the read on the other better, I feel, because they both kind of play perfectly into each other's game plan. Mm-hmm. Israel wants that guy who's going to put his own chin on the platter, so to speak. Right. And Paulo Costa wants that guy who's gonna, move back and then eventually get put up against the cage. And a lot of Paulo Costa's fights, his most dominating, impressive fights, are when he gets a guy up against the cage and overwhelmed, and he just starts ripping the body, ripping up top, and he starts to throw this volume. But that's when he gets guys in punching bag mode, where they're just receiving and shelling up. Whereas Israel doesn't really enter that state. He's going to move. He's going to get out of there. So, I don't know. It's hard to say. And without just flat out saying, I think this guy's going to win, it's really hard to say how that fight's going to go. But I think Israel has a huge technical advantage. Yeah.
I agree that Israel has a technical advantage. I agree that he's the better striker and he has more of an array of, techniques. And I think a better understanding of striking, obviously. Mm. But I just think that power and landing clean, and Israel's not unhittable. He's very good,
right?
But he's been hit, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if he gets hit with a shot, because Paulo looks like he has crazy power. He hits with so much power.
But when I see him, yes, he hits hard, but he doesn't hit sharp. So I see him as the guy who, punches through things.
Okay.
Whereas, Gastelum was able to get Israel on an exit and crack him at the end of a punch. He was able to feed off Israel's frame and crack him. And I don't really see Paulo Costa, cracking Israel. I see him, maybe landing and hitting Israel with some big shots. But I see Israel rolling with some shots that are kind of pushing. And I see him weathering that storm. And then I see Paulo Costa... he definitely doesn't gas out, so to speak, right. But he's not the same exact fighter in round 3 as he is in round 1, and we haven't seen him in round 5 yet.
Izzy's already been in those wars.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be a phenomenal fight.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to have all of everything. It's going to be a perfect type of fight because it has the rivalry, but it also has a really interesting technical aspect.
Yeah.
It's not like just two guys.
It makes for a good poster. It makes for a good press conference. Yes, it makes for a good fight. It kind of checks all the boxes.
And you got international appeal.
Yes.
You got the New Zealander, you have the Brazilian.
Yep.
And I think the UFC is desperate for another dominant Brazilian. I think they just found one in Davison. But at that weight, I think they feel like he's the next big thing. But who could deny Israel Adesanya is the next big thing? I mean, Israel Adesanya very well might win, go through the middleweight division, fight John Jones and beat him.
Yeah.
He very well might do something ridiculously insane. It's possible. Not, if I had to pick between John and Israel right now, I'd pick John. But, I mean, Israel is I mean, I wouldn't. If I woke up, if I was in a coma for a year and I woke up and they're like, dude, here's what you missed. Israel Adesanya fought John Jones and knocked him out in the 3rd round. I'd be like, wow, that's a little surprising.
Yeah.
But, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like getting woken up and saying, hey, Conor knocked out Usman for the welterweight title. We're like, wait, what?
Or like, hey, Paige Van Zandt deleted her Instagram. It's like, what?
What? Wait.
There's no way.
I need the OnlyFans.
Listen, Paige Van Zandt.
That would be the only plausible way she would make a move like that.
I guess, but Instagram makes her a lot of money.
Yeah. But I can imagine other platforms would as well.
I wonder what is it about her Instagram that makes her so much money and gives her so much following.
Yeah.
Her captions, probably.
Yeah.
So what do we have next? We have Darren Till, Robert Whittaker, and I just have to say right now that is going to be, I think, a true war, because two guys that are not very that want to actually engage one another in the fight, and two guys who, when they start going, are violent. They are violent individuals, the two of them. And I don't know what happened with the Gastelum Till fight, because I thought that was going to be more of a fireworks show. But I expect this to definitely have some fireworks. If I had to bet money, I don't think it's going to turn out to be where it's just two guys measuring each other. I think they're going to fight. I think they're going to brawl it out a little bit. And I'm intrigued to seeing how Robert Whittaker looks.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think we kind of know what Darren we're going to get. We're not getting another Darren like we did against Gastelum, coming off of back-to-back stoppage losses.
Yeah.
So I think that in Gastelum versus Darren, we had two guys coming in off of, pretty traumatic last fight experiences. Whereas, you could say that for Robert in this situation. Whereas he's coming off of being finished in a way we've never seen him finish before.
In his hometown.
And his home country. And I believe that, with Till, we kind of know we're going to get Till coming forward. We're going to get a confident Till in this one. But, and he knows he has a good dance partner. But the only thing that kind of came to mind when I compared this was Till versus karate style, and that we've seen in him versus Wonder Boy. And that fight was, I hate to call something so high level boring, because boring isn't the word for it. Maybe strategic, or, more of a cerebral fight where they're fighting more in an imaginary realm that the casual can't see, with feints and subtle lies and setups and misdirection.
Not as much overt activity going on.
Right. We're not getting a stand and bang scenario.
It was a lot of the fight was invisible.
Yes.
And therefore, it could be said to be boring or inactive, but it was very active, just invisible.
Right. And, we could get something like that with Whittaker, but I think Whittaker and Wonder Boy are very different, and I think very similar in ways, but very different. And I think that Whittaker, we saw it against Adesanya, he'll close that distance. He closes that distance and tries to get you to enter. Whereas Wonder Boy, when he closes that distance, it's usually with some lead leg stuff, he's not as leaping in with hooks and things like that. Whereas we see that from Whittaker. And I think that's going to, early on, get us into this real back and forth, in and out. Like, you throw something aggressive at me and try and bait me, and we're going to see them trying to pull each other into each other's game.
Right.
And it's going to be interesting to see who says, like, fuck it, let me get into this first. Like, somebody's going to say screw it to their game plan and enter the others traps and setups. And, it's...
If I had to guess, I think that's going to be Whittaker.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I think he was emotional against Adesanya, had really something to prove, and, a lot of disrespect, and it seemed like kind of in the time he had been away from the sport due to health and whatever, that the sport kind of chose a new champion without him losing the belt. and Adesanya had been given the interim title and built up, kind of like the Jose and Conor thing, where it was like, it felt like the champ was the challenger already, and it felt like that was, you know, his, you know, it felt like it was Adesanya's belt to lose.
Wow, it did feel that way.
Yeah.
Because everybody really felt like Adesanya had shown himself to be champion, and was the champion, and was had the star power that comes with being champion, or at least that you would imagine should come with being
And the show before that, they were supposed to headline and co-headline, was supposed to be Whittaker and Gastelum and Adesanya Anderson, and then Adesanya had to step up and be, you know, the head of that show, and then that was in Australia. So then the very next card in Australia, Adesanya is once again headlining. So it's like, hey Rob, you know, like, this is kind of my show, and you know, so it had a weird dynamic to it. Whereas now, Whittaker and Till are kind of stepping in as, you know, rivals, but it does kind of again seem like, in a way, this is Till's show, and Whittaker is the challenger in this #1 contender match. Even though I believe Whittaker is the higher ranked middleweight here, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Definitely. And I think that, you know, it's interesting because the fight that catapulted Masvidal in a way before the Askren knockout that really just sent him to another level was this Till performance. So I think this could be...
Yeah, he became Street Jesus after the Till performance.
Yeah, that was the first, like, baptism. The first...
And it wasn't really because of the Till fight, it was because of what he did to Leon.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he became Street Jesus. That was when it became funny.
That's
when everybody started talking about, dude, this is a street fighter in the UFC. It was because of what he did after that fight. After knocking Till out in that fashion, who nobody thought Masvidal was going to win.
Right.
Masvidal was being thrown in that fight just to put Till over.
Yeah.
Period. I don't care what anybody says. The UFC was trying to deliberately put Masvidal in a situation where he could put over a star that had just come off a really, like, convincing loss to Woodley. They were trying to push him, and they ran into a brick wall on Woodley. Mm-hmm. Then they're like, you know what, let's throw him someone softer. And Masvidal went in there and stole it all. Then Masvidal got thrown to another guy, Ben Askren, who they were trying to push. Boom, stole all the hype.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. Masvidal's, all of his success is from literally going into a situation with the chip stacked against him, and then he turned it, and he's now the guy.
Right.
He's now the guy they're going to start throwing.
Right.
People, or
they kind of sent him downstream to throw him off the waterfall, and now he's like swam all the way back upstream and like got into the driver's seat. And
it's
like,
amazing.
Hold on.
From a business standpoint, it's amazing. He did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, he really went against the grain. It's not like, you know, you see the guys like O'Malley and whatnot, where you can see like, he's going with the flow here. You know, they kind of sent him down a stream, and that they have all things moving in the same direction with him. It's like a cohesive business agreement to build that guy. And the UFC and him both had the same goal in mind. Whereas Masvidal was like, all right, we're going to build this guy off. You sent him that way. Masvidal's like, nope, I'm going to go this way with that momentum. Nope, I'm going to go. And he shifted their plans, but eventually forced them to kind of get on board in a way. And even then, he had to still have that uphill battle to get the money he was worth and take a fight on 6 days' notice because he couldn't get the money up front. He had to get it in a very unique situation. But
speaking of unique situations and speaking of hype, I'm saying it right now, for all of you listening, Conor McGregor is going to fight Justin Gaethje. I'm saying it right now.
Okay.
I have zero sources, zero confidence.
So I like the confidence. Is that what's next? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is Khabib is not going to fight this year. It's not happening. I think everybody understands.
Khabib no smash?
Khabib no smash. Khabib,
but how?
Khabib grief.
How Khabib no smash?
Khabib no smash. Khabib smash in Dagestan. Khabib smash is street fight. Remember when he told Tony, I eat you in street fight? I found that hilarious because everybody believes that.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to describe what Khabib does is eats people. He's like, I eat you in street fight. You're fake Mexican.
Yeah. I am real Mexican.
You fake Mexican. Tony, not Mexican name. Oh my goodness. I love Khabib. But yeah, Khabib's dad just died, and I think that he's he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna fight this year.
Yeah.
But they have to do something with Justin Gaethje.
They have to.
Justin Gaethje just came off a phenomenal performance. And here's the thing. So did Conor McGregor.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody forgets. Conor said, I want this season this year.
And he said Gaethje was on his list.
Yes, Gaethje was who he wanted. Him and his coach wanted Gaethje next at 170 was what they, had asked for after Cowboy. So it was who his team had in mind before even Gaethje's Tony Ferguson performance.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
it's a great fight.
Yeah, and Gaethje made the call a while ago, but has, kind of made it known that I'm not going to, beg for Conor and type thing. But, yeah.
Just picture this. September. Gaethje, Conor. When Khabib was supposed to fight Gaethje, they throw Conor in that fight instead. They headline for an interim title.
And Adesanya is the co-main. Because Adesanya is the headliner of that. But you don't... Conor doesn't.
Conor cannot Conor can't be the co-main in that situation.
You just can't.
But it's tough because Adesanya, you can't put both of them on the same card then. Because Adesanya is a headliner.
Yeah.
And him and Costa is a headlining fight.
For sure.
So
but that card was supposed to be the Khabib card.
Right.
That was the card they had for Khabib.
Maybe you do it. Okay, if that was the Khabib card, then Khabib would have headlined or no?
Yeah, Khabib would have headlined.
So if Khabib would have headlined... Now, you know what? You know what I think? I think that they still do it. Maybe they do it sooner. Maybe they do it in August. Maybe they do it next month.
Wow. We get a Conor card next month.
Has Justin been training?
Or, out of nowhere, so the Stylebender fight got announced on all platforms, basically. Right. ESPN MMA put it out. And then, Dana comes out and whoa, backs it up. So it's like, hold on, did the real Slim Shady stand up? Did Conor McGregor say, hey, that September show, that Khabib show, how about we make that a real drama show? How about we make that, the Conor McGregor show?
A big drama show.
Yeah.
Dude, but that's what I'm saying. You put a Gaethje-Conor fight is appealing to everybody.
Because there's also another Fight Island card in October. So maybe they said, hold on, we could put Israel and Costa in October, and we can move Conor Gaethje up, and we can really get this party started.
I can't tell you how exciting it would be. A Conor McGregor and Gaethje fight is an amazing fight. Obviously, I think Gaethje would be the favorite. Gaethje would be favored in that fight, especially after beating Tony. I think he would be favored in.
Yeah.
And the tear that he's been on lately. But I think that Conor would be a very solid dog to bet on.
Definitely.
A solid dog.
Definitely.
Like, Gaethje is a violent, crazy... But listen, when Conor is on, that stuff doesn't really matter.
Right.
The only person that has been able to nullify Conor, it wasn't with violence, it was with technique.
Right.
It was Khabib's water. Into his water. But besides that, scary and violent and brutal is not really what beats Conor.
Right.
Because he's fought guys like that before.
Right.
Eddie Alvarez.
Dustin Poirier. Look what Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier did to Justin Gaethje.
Exactly.
They both beat him. But you have to give Gaethje the credit he's deserved, or he now deserves, and he's definitely made a shift in his style, his approach. He's taken his fight IQ up a notch.
Oh yeah.
And
listen, I think Justin will be the favorite.
And a well-deserved favorite in that fight.
100%. He deserves to be the favorite in a fight against Conor, especially with Conor's inactivity. Mm-hmm. But I feel like Conor's a good dog to bet on in that fight. I feel like Conor he can present some dilemmas to Justin Gaethje in terms of striking and setting traps, similar to maybe an Eddie Alvarez fight, where he's taking a guy who has a very straightforward mindset. Mm-hmm. You don't know exactly how, but you know Justin Gaethje's going to move forward.
Right.
And, he has different techniques that are really good. He's obviously a phenomenal wrestler. Doubt that he will be just shooting takedowns and trying to choke him. He likes to throw. But I really like Conor's chances in that fight. And a win over Justin Gaethje puts Conor right back over.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Is Dana said post-Cowboy, he said, well, what's next for Conor? Yada, yada, yada. We think he should just wait. We think he should wait. Conor Khabib 2 is by far the biggest fight in the history of combat sports.
Right.
This is what he kept saying after Conor looked good against Cowboy. So it's like, all right, yes, this in a sense jeopardizes Conor Khabib 2, but it also sets up an even bigger Conor Khabib 2. Because we were, now Dana has then said, all right, now Gaethje Khabib is what has to happen. So it's like, okay, now you have these 2 fights with Khabib that has to happen. You have the 2 guys who have to have these fights with Khabib to make these.
Listen, Khabib's not available. You have to make that fight. You have to, because
if you don't have a Khabib fight for the rest of 2020, it's like, why not?
Yeah.
There's nothing better than a Conor McGregor fight. Now, that brings up another side to Dana's argument, which is, how do you justify having a Conor McGregor fight with no face-to-face press conferences and no crowd?
Well, that's the toughest part, but here's the thing. You justify it by saying, at the end of the day, we don't know when we're going to have a crowd again.
Right.
And so it's not worth waiting. If there was a timetable, if they said, hey, November,
right,
we're going to have a crowd, then you wait and you say, hey, we're going to save our big entertainers for that.
Yeah.
But nobody knows when a crowd, I mean, for all we know, it could be March of 2021, we still don't have a crowd. Right. And do they want to take that risk of waiting over a year or maybe just under a year?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, Conor coming off of a Cowboy win or a Justin Gaethje loss is still in a similar spot. He's still in a similar spot where, he still has the Diaz and Masvidals of the world out there to make these huge fights. And at the end of the day, Conor is just big money fights. Even his title shots aren't even viewed as real ranking-based title shots. It's not even seen as the number one contender. It's just Conor gets to skip the queue when he wants to fight for a belt because he's Conor. The Eddie thing. I mean, there's a lot of layers to it.
The thing about it is, if he beats Justin, then you can't deny him the Khabib fight.
1,000%.
Because Justin was about to fight Khabib.
Yeah.
And Justin I think Justin would be the toughest opponent outside of Khabib that Conor has ever faced.
Yeah.
And so as far as danger, Conor beats Khabib, and then all of a sudden, it's the Aldo thing again.
Nah, you know what happens then?
Floyd?
Heaven opens. And a cloud starts to descend upon Earth. Post-fight, Conor's in. The double champ does what the fuck he wants. And then you got this archangel descending from the heavens, and he comes down, sitting on his knees in this stoic, just martial artist pose. And we have a fully gi-wearing, headband-wearing GSP. And we just have the ultimate post-fight moment with a belt-wearing, proper 12 promoting, Conor McGregor on the mic, and you just have GSP walk in a gi, black belt, and headband.
Wow.
And we have this face-off of a brash Conor McGregor and just GSP. And
is he going to hit him? I'm not impressed with your performance.
Yeah. Conor McGregor. You are a very big star, but I am not impressed with your performance.
He's sitting there, it's floating above the octagon.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's actually what's going to happen, right?
What else happens? Other than the Jesus fight, he's got to fight Jesus or GSP. the 2 anointed sons.
I think he has a good chance against GSP. I'm not so sure about Jesus. Him being God and everything makes it difficult.
Jesus is a dog. There's no foot in that guy.
Got a great overhand for sure.
Yeah,
a great right cross for sure. Yeah. No, I agree that something weird and huge would be the next fight.
Yeah.
A GSP, a Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Something. It wouldn't even be MMA.
It would be something so transcendent and big. Yeah. It would be.
It's not Conor going, who's next in the 155 division.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Conor going and fighting Masvidal, going and fighting Diaz again. Floyd. It's gonna be the spectacle.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't complain.
No.
Because he would have proven his point by beating Khabib.
Yeah.
That's it. It would put Conor in that official, you don't have to prove anything anymore category.
Yeah.
It's like Anderson. Anderson doesn't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
He could retire and he's still on like the Mount Rushmore.
Right.
You know, because he's Anderson Silva and he had that run. Conor beating Khabib puts him back over. Mm-hmm. Unless Khabib, he beats him when Khabib was like 42 or something. Mm-hmm. But if he beats Gaethje and then goes on and beats Khabib, I think Conor's right back in that magical place where we lost him. Because we lost that. He lost that magic, I think, after the Floyd fight.
Right, now he's, not in the same way, but, now he's the Chael Sonnen of our generation.
Sure.
Where you know what he was doing, and you respect him for it, and he was the best at doing what he did, right. But at the end of the day, it's like, that guy wasn't the best of the era, he was just the best entertainer of the era.
Correct.
So he's going to put himself in this place where it's like, yeah, Conor was like, he just took the entertainment side of the sport to a new place, and he'll be respected for that, and he'll always have his place in the sport, but he's not going to be able to just step away with this, like, untouchable legacy. There's going to be many holes you could poke in it.
But for a time, he was the best, or he felt like he was the best, because he beat Aldo.
When you call all your shots, and then you beat the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world like you did Aldo, at that point in time, if, that's the best fighter on planet Earth in that moment. Yeah. When Conor knocked out Aldo in that moment, it was like, Conor's the best fighter on Earth right now. Right. And there was like this air around Conor where it was like, oh my God, he's not only like the best, he's the most dominant, and he's predicting. So it's like, there were so many elements to that were magical.
And he's entertaining.
Yeah,
the best on the mic.
Right. Not only was he the best, he was also the most well-known and just like in this place that others couldn't get to. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of developing has to happen for, some of these things to start to really be on the horizon even. Conor Gaethje right now is kind of a dream floating above the horizon, but it's like, we need something to show some promise for that. We need it to be said, okay, Khabib isn't fighting for the rest of 2020. Yeah. Khabib Gaethje is not going to be happening in 2020. And then it'll be like, oh, wait. Like, now Khabib hasn't fought. And how long? Okay, now we're in the interim category. Now we need that interim belt to be dangled out there.
You don't vacate, you don't do that, but you have to have an interim. You have to have an interim champ, especially considering the how frequent the UFC has been with their events. Yeah. Justin's probably going to be ready. Conor's probably getting ready. Yeah. I think he's preparing. So I think it's the fight to make for a variety of reasons. It's marketable. Yeah. It's but it's also an interesting fight. And what better way to boost your numbers and end the year off with a Conor fight? Right. That's how they started the year. Yeah. It'd be good that if he can get 2 fights in the year, that'd be good. For himself too, because he wanted to be active. Right. And I'm sure that a long time away isn't what's going to get you ready for a Khabib. But a fight with Justin Gaethje is a good prepper for a guy like Khabib. Yeah. And because Justin Gaethje just might go out there and beat him, but if he doesn't, if he's able to win, it's great experience. Definitely. Anyway, let's talk about this upcoming card, the UFC Fight Night Whittaker versus Till card. Yes. Let's just do the last 3 fights. We got a lot of good stuff. A lot of good fights on this card.
Yeah, definitely some good scraps early on.
Yes, it's going to be one that you want to definitely be watching.
Hang on, before we get there, Chimaev, however you say his last name. You watched his performance?
Oh my goodness, did I watch his performance? I was just watching it today, actually. Again, just so impressive.
Khabib-esque.
Very Khabib-esque.
Granted, I don't know too much about the grappling pedigree of his opponent, but wow, to come in UFC debut and just come onto the scene like that, and how many people have we seen this week been like, oh, Dana, I'm healthy, let me get another Fight Island fight. And this kid's literally just won his debut on Fight Island last week. Yeah. And now he's fighting again.
He's fighting again on this card.
And we've heard it said so many times, like, oh, I could fight again next weekend in the post-fight press conference. This kid said it, hopped over the cage and said, Dana, let me get one. And Dana said to this kid, we'll find you a fight. Like, it couldn't have been easy to find that kid a fight. They really want this kid to have a fight. And I texted you right away, hey, bro, star is born. Yeah. Next Khabib. Yeah. Right now, like, because you had missed that one on the prelims, and I just happened to catch that one. Right. And it's
you
like...
You were asleep.
Yeah.
And you woke up. It was funny. You woke up and you texted me. I was asleep. I woke up.
Because we had both forgot about the card. Right. It was a busy day.
It was a busy day. You woke up and said, I'm asleep. I wake up and boom, a star is born on my TV.
Yeah. It's like God awoke me from my slumber and let me
look at this.
Yeah. And he's my weight, you know, so,
so
maybe it was like, oh, I see the guy that, you know, looks like he could possibly become that next champion of that class.
He could definitely be a champion. Like,
yeah.
If you want, like, the way he was, first of all, his control was, well, not just...
It's not just control, it's like... It's control on another level. There's a type of control. There's a Kamaru Usman control, and there's like the Khabib and Damian Maia control, where they get you to the ground and you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's what it looks like. It looks like if you've ever seen like a snake strangle something. It looks like a violent control that actually hurts the person on bottom. Whereas Usman, when he controls someone, it looks like the other person's just kind of stuck in a place, but not tortured.
Right, and Usman is controlling their body. You know, like Usman's got his hands together, he's got their body. Right. Whereas Khabib and this Chimaev guy or whatever, the difference they have is the way they control the legs and then chain and climb up each limb up the body. And now they get that Dagestani wrist ride where they're over your back and they have that hand that's up against the cage.
You can't even post.
Yes.
You can't turn towards
now you don't have anything to base off the ground with. You only have one hand to cover your head with that's closest to your opponent. Yeah. So you have your frame gone, and now you're just here, and that's like
get up or get hit in the face.
Yeah,
you only have two options.
Yeah,
they don't give you another option. But the way he was controlling was very, very similar to Khabib. It was exact style. The way he would shuck them forward, not down, but forward.
Right,
so
you frame here, so he's going to pull you there where the frame's not supporting. Because you got to realize in that situation, at best, his opponent is getting to a base with 3 points on the ground. So when you're on a base with 3 points, you know, that table that has 3 legs is going to have a way that you could set weight or push it, and that's going to knock it right off balance. Whereas if you have both hands and feet on the ground, this table is not really going anywhere.
But what I noticed with Khabib and with guys like that, what they do is when they get that, it's like a body lock that they have against the cage, and the guys are usually on both of their arms, and their arms are holding everything up, and so it's obviously a tiring position to be in. But instead of trying to put weight on them down, they shuck them forward. They kind of throw them forward, and that
they make them get their hands on the mat, like if they start to get up.
And then by doing that, you're also advancing position on them and getting more behind them and getting to where you saw him get hooks in and saw him start to get like a seatbelt grip, and then at the end, the finish where the guy on bottom somehow is able to get into like a side control position and get to his back on the mat, which you're thinking, okay, that's better to be there at least
until
back on the mat. And he
slurs that dart through.
It was so like unorthodox though, because I don't think he had his hands connected, did he? I couldn't tell like the way he shot it, and then he fell with his back toward the camera, so I couldn't see the grip. All I know is I saw it immediately. I saw Michael Bisping was screaming, "Doss, he's got a Doss, he's got a Doss," and he's like, and immediately just taps.
Yeah.
Very tight, you could tell.
Well, once you get that shoulder to the mat, it's a really tight adjustment.
Right.
And that last adjustment where you really get behind their head, what it does, it's like how you pull on the back of the head on chokes to finish.
Yeah.
When you drop your shoulder to the mat, it's not really giving you extra leverage or anything, so to speak, on your actual choke itself. Yeah. What it's doing is forcing their head inside of your chest now, and now their head is like pushed into the grip more. So that's what that adjustment does there. So he really just got, it was a nasty adjustment, and that's some high level adjustments.
He's next, and he's a beast. And the way he just bloodied him up immediately.
We gotta see his rise now. We gotta see who do they give him on his way? How does he do against the strikers? How does he do against, because even Khabib on his rise, we saw him go against the Rafael dos Anjos, the high-level jiu-jitsu guy, and we saw what he did there. And then we see him against,
you know, the Barbozas, the Michael Johnsons. You see him against the Michael Johnsons of the world getting hit with that big straight. And it's like, okay, we've seen Khabib, you know, get hit and, you know, his knees give you a little flutter to show he got hit on the button, and he weathered that, and he came forward and mitigated that. So what happens when this kid gets landed on?
What happens when he and Khabib fight?
That's the thing. He is bigger, and
I know, but Khabib is...
See, what I think...
How much bigger is he?
Khabib, like, frame-wise, he was significantly bigger. He was like over 6 foot.
Oh, wow. That's horrifying.
Yes. So like where my mind automatically goes is the two places. What happens when he gets on the ground with Damian Maia, and what happens when he gets on the ground with Masvidal? Or not Masvidal, sorry, Usman. So I want to see him against... You know, the guy who can maybe mitigate that control, being Usman, who could out-wrestle him, who could, you know, mitigate it getting to those places.
That'd be phenomenal.
And then there's the guy like Damian Maia, who it's like, Damian Maia, nobody wants to really wrestle or, you know, get to certain places with, because now you just entered deep, deep water on the ground with him. You see a guy like Askren who can get Maia to the ground, but it's like, did you really want to go there with him?
This is a mistake.
You know, like, yeah, you might be able to out-wrestle him, but now you're doing jiu-jitsu, my friend.
Yeah,
like,
it's a different animal.
It's different down there.
Damian Maia is like probably the best jiu-jitsu player in the UFC.
Yeah, like
I'd put him there. Yeah,
Krone.
I would put Krone. Yeah, Krone. I really want to see
Pure
him fight,
jiu-jitsu, I would say Krone probably, but you know, MMA jiu-jitsu, Damian Maia, I would still to this.
Krone is such an animal. I want to see Krone fight again, and I feel like he has really good jiu-jitsu translated into MMA because his jiu-jitsu before MMA was self-defense oriented, so it was all about a fight. He was never just a sport jiu-jitsu guy that now had to turn his good jiu-jitsu in a sport scenario into MMA jiu-jitsu.
And he's on a journey. Like Krone is on a journey. You could tell he doesn't fight to win fights. He doesn't fight to win points. He fights to expand himself, to learn more about himself, to go to places he's never been before. That Cub Swanson fight, he knew that wasn't his game plan to most effectively score points against Cub Swanson. Right. You know, like, if he would have jiu-jitsu'd Cub, you know, and there's, you know, people, you could say, oh, well, he couldn't get Cub down, that's why the fight went that way, whatever. You know, in a lot of ways, that was a fight for Krone to grow in, and him to just stand on the feet with a real experienced guy and to trade in the pocket like that the way he did. And, you know, I think he learned a lot about distance and MMA in that fight. Sure. And I like to see how Krone does this, you know, the next few years.
I want to see him soon.
Get active, yeah. I would like to see him get active, you know.
If he's on contract, that means they've offered him fights.
Yeah.
I wonder what they've offered him that he's turned down.
I want to see him against Thug Nasty. Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah? Okay.
Bryce Mitchell's this grappler. It's like...
Wait, but they're in the same weight class?
45, I believe.
Oh, so he's a 45er?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I like Krone. I think Krone has some potential. He has experience. He's not just green to this, and he's training with the Diaz brothers. That's what I feel like that quality training he's getting. Yeah. Mixed with his mentality, mixed with his... I mean, listen, there's something in that blood. There's
For sure.
something in that blood.
But at the same time, he's not in it to prove himself to the world like some of the Gracies were.
Sure.
And it doesn't look like he's in this to be a world champion. You know, he's like...
Just in it to be in it.
Yeah, he just loves it. You know, he's in it because he likes the lifestyle. He likes hanging out with the Diaz bros and getting in those sparring sessions. And, you know, he likes the triathlons. He skateboards. He, you know, jiu-jitsu, has his own academy. You know, he does what he does, and he does what he loves, you know, and you got to admire somebody like that, and he has a lot of cool matchups. So we'll see with Krone.
Man, we got into Krone Gracie. Where are we?
Yeah, where are we?
This is great, though. I like it.
Yeah.
Let's quickly run through these last 3 fights on the card, and then we'll do some fight one, corner one, roll with one.
Let's get
as we approach the hour mark. So we have Alexander Gustafsson in his heavyweight debut. Highly favored against Fabricio Verdun.
Wow.
He is a minus 340 in his heavyweight debut.
That is crazy to see. I haven't seen these odds.
I would never have guessed that he'd be the favorite.
Especially after coming off of getting submitted against Anthony Smith to now be going against a heavyweight jiu-jitsu world champion.
Yes.
And a high-level MMA jiu-jitsu guy.
They must really be low on Verdum. I think that's what it is, based on his last fight.
Yeah.
I think they're low. They can't be high on Gustafsson. It's not like Gustafsson has shown,
supreme confidence and performances.
I think they're low on Verdum.
Yeah, that's.
But that's a sneaky bet.
That's a sneaky bet.
I'd bet Verdum in that fight.
Yeah, you have to like Verdum as an underdog in there. But saying who do I pick and just a straight up pick them without odds involved. Obviously, with those odds involved, you gotta love Verdum as that big of a dog against somebody who's shown weaknesses against grappling.
Yes, you can make a lot of money on Verdum because Verdum is probably not going to want to stand in exchange with Gustafsson.
Right.
So you're probably going to see grappling exchanges. And depending on what time in the fight, early on, they're not sweaty, you could see a submission.
But Verdum is also shown to be knocked out on the entry. That Stipe knocked out Verdum going backwards.
Gotcha.
And Gus, I would say, is a better boxer than even Stipe.
Yeah.
You know? Even Stipe being arguably the greatest boxer
How
at
does
heavyweight.
boxing translate to heavyweight, though? You know, does he bring with it? Does he have the power? Does he have the speed? If he loses some speed, does his boxing still measure up in that way? I doubt he's going to lose a whole lot.
No.
He's probably fighting at a more natural
Yeah,
rate.
I see him, kind of maintaining, similar speed and pop to his punches, considering, he might not have a huge size and frame advantage like he did at light heavy, but he's not cutting. He's at his weight. I think this could be a good place for him at this point in his career. But yeah, very interesting. As far as making a pick on that, like we said, making a bet on that, you got to go Verdum. As far as a pick on who to win, I mean, they're fighting in a full-size cage over there on Fight Island. 3-round fight. I see. That's tough. Gus moving around well early, but does Verdum change that level? Who imposes their fight early?
Yeah, I'm picking Verdum.
You're gonna go Verdum?
Yeah.
All right.
I had a really, really bad co-main and main with what's his name? Gastelum and Joe.
Yeah.
And, to be honest, if anybody was listening, I picked Joe just because he picked the other guy.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have one difference because we picked all the same guys.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me have one difference. I knew he wasn't going to win, okay?
But you didn't know it was going to be that.
I did not. No, I thought it was going to be, I thought it was going to go the distance.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was going to be a decision or like a late stoppage. I did not think he was just going to ragdoll.
Yeah, that was brutal.
So yeah, I'm gonna pick Verdum, man. I feel like he's a good dog. I feel like he's motivated after that loss, and I saw Dan Hardy saying that in his last fight he didn't even fight like he normally fights.
Yeah,
he fought completely different. He had a very lazy style. He was off that night. I think they're forgetting about Verdum and like what he could do. And Gus, although he's a phenomenal boxer and definitely better boxer than Verdum, could be taken into the deep grappling water. And if he is, top or bottom, wherever Verdum lands, it could prove to be deadly for Gustafsson.
So, all right, I definitely respect the Verdum, and like I said, if we're going off odds, I'm betting on Verdum in this one. But I think Gus, I'm gonna go with Gus because I think. Striking wise, I got Gus, and Verdum's wrestling versus Gustafsson's takedown defense. I'm gonna go Gus.
Sure.
Even though Verdum, once it gets to the ground, I don't like that for Gus whatsoever. And
Verdum's not gonna probably land a takedown on him.
Yeah, and I think that just closing the distance, I like Gus. Maybe showing him a couple reasons why early with footwork or just catching him coming in. Like, hey, those entries aren't gonna work, and I'm gonna go Gus on this one.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Now we have Mauricio Shogun Hua. This is what is this? A legacy fight? This is versus Antonio Nogueira.
Yeah.
So we have the old heads coming in.
Yeah. What do we got odds?
This is like a pick'em. I mean, it's a minus
195 to
165. I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, it's really hard picking when it comes to these guys where they're like, at this phase in their career where sometimes they come out and it's like, oh, he kind of looks like he did. Maybe he could, make another run. And then sometimes they just come out and it's so flat.
So
this is really, like you said, for me, this is a pick 'em. Yeah, I guess Shogun, because if I'm correct, Shogun's been the more active guy as of late. So
I'll pick Nogueira just for the hell of it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we really either of us have a
comment what you think.
Yeah, let's.
And now Whittaker and Till, the main event.
The big show.
Well, this is so tough.
So they got
Till's favorite
really as a pick 'em, but
Till's
minus 105 to Whittaker's minus 115. So they're not even giving you even money on either of these guys.
No.
So it's a pick 'em, but they're not even. Vegas isn't even willing to give you a straight up bet on this pick 'em. So yeah, this just goes to show that this really is a coin toss, and Vegas isn't even willing to give you the coin toss odds.
Here's my thing. Whittaker just fought a guy like Till. Crafty, rangy, highly technical striker. Obviously not the same fighter, but fought a guy like Till, who is very, very technical and has a superior striking ability.
Yeah.
He got knocked out.
Yeah.
By what was a counter punch, really.
Right.
I feel like Darren Till hits with more power than Adesanya. Although we haven't seen that power displayed at this weight. Mm-hmm. So we don't know if that if that power translates. We really don't.
Right.
So that's an unknown. We don't know if the power that Till had in the welterweight division transfers over to middleweight. But we do know that Whittaker had a problem against Adesanya. We do know that he got clipped on a counter punch. And I have a feeling Whittaker is going to be the one to go first. So that means Whittaker is going to be walking into a situation which just lost him his fight and his belt.
So you don't think he learned in the Adesanya fight to change that tempo up, change that strategy up?
It's not that I don't think he learned it. I don't think Whittaker can fight another way. I don't know if he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna go in there like he did. I don't think he's gonna be sloppy, but he's going to be first. So whatever that looks like, it's not. I don't think he's gonna be nearly as wild as the Adesanya fight at all. I think he's gonna be a little more controlled and measured. He learned that.
He looked desperate and emotional.
He did. He's gonna be measured. There's no bad blood. There's no pressure even. It's just no crowd, nothing. I think all that's gonna play in his favor. But I know he's going to go first. If I had to guess, he's going to be the one to go. I don't think Till's just going to come out and just attack. It's possible. It's possible. And so because of that, I just don't know. I don't know if that's going to put Whittaker in danger of Till's counter striking and his power. And we don't know if his power translated, but you have to think he was such a big welterweight.
Yeah.
He's probably fighting around.
Yeah, and both of them being former welterweights that, seem to have the physicality to naturally transition to this 85 class. I'd say physically, they're both true middleweights at this point.
This is really a pick'em.
Yeah. This is a tough one.
You go first.
So,
because whoever you pick, I might just end up picking the opposite because it's such a pick'em.
So, as you said that in their last bout, you think that Whittaker saw the style of Till in his last performance. I go the opposite way. I think that Adesanya is very sneaky and, has good fundamentals as Till does. But since he has such good fundamentals, he strays off of that. And he, had that fadeaway counter where he slipped the punch and hit that fadeaway hook. Whereas Till is more of a pullback, crack you counter. And I see.
You would say they're different because Israel disguises his stuff more, and he's more in the ambiguous, non-fundamental range.
Whereas I see Till more of a Muay Thai.
Okay, that's true.
And I don't see Adesanya as like a Muay Thai fighter. I see Adesanya as like a glory kickboxing fighter.
I compare the two in their ranginess, their length, and their rhythm, the way that they move about freely. They don't play like Till does play a tighter game.
Yeah.
he throws a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and just
very high level games,
right,
very high level games,
and I feel like he can set a lot of traps.
Mm-hmm. So my only thing is, I think that in their last opponent, honestly, I think that the way Gastelum comes in and out, even though it's with different techniques behind it, I think that's similar to the way Whittaker plays with that in and out. And so I see that Till's last fight being a good fight to prepare him for this as well. So with that being said, it's hard to say. They're both so high level, both have something to prove in this fight, both coming in with a chip on their shoulder. I think not having a crowd, Darren tends to feed off the crowd a lot coming into the cage, which could affect him or hurt him. And Rob seems to hype himself up getting into the cage, which might hurt him as well. But I think Till kind of plays into the crowd a bit more. And I heard him say he's coming out with no walkout song even right now because they're not going to have a crowd. So Till's going to walk out to silence, which is going to be interesting if it's true. And, I think that just the environment, everything leading into it, I'm going to go Till. I think I got to go Till.
You know what? I'm going Till too.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can't just pick the other guy. I have to pick what I think. And I think Till's primed for a win.
Yeah.
And I actually think he can finish him.
Yeah.
I think he has the capability to finish him. It's going to be interesting to see what the first engage is like, but
yeah.
I got Till.
Yeah. All right. And another thing is, the loser of this fight, if Rob loses, actually, this scenario could play out. We could get that matchup that we missed out on, the title fight that was not meant to be, Gastelum versus Whittaker, which I think is a really good stylistic matchup. So, both of these guys coming off losses still have a lot of fun matchups for them.
Yeah, they're
still
not
both
done.
big names.
And Whittaker's still a big name, and he would have gone through two really tough guys. It's not like...
And they're both the face of their respected market. We've got, the Australian star. In a way, though, Whittaker is really losing that, Aussie push, with Volkanovski, being the surging champion out of there, and Adesanya's Australasia impact. He's kind of become the fan favorite in that country as well. So
also, watch out for Megan Anderson.
Yeah? You think?
I like her.
She's got some holes, but she's a beast.
I like her.
She's a beast.
I think she has something there.
Yeah.
I think she has something for the future. All right, now how about really quickly? Let's do fight one, corner one, roll with one.
Let's get
into it.
Let's
go through it quick because we're running out of time.
Yeah. Here we go.
All right, so the first one is LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Kawhi Leonard. Fight one, corner one, roll with one. I'm going to go first. I'm fighting KD.
Okay.
Easy cash.
Yeah, that's
easy money.
Yeah.
Easy money.
If KD don't have boys to jump in, he ain't winning a fight.
I think we can beat up any of these guys, but I'm fighting KD.
Okay.
LeBron, I'm cornering because you're with LeBron. You're LeBron.
Yeah.
And then I'm rolling with Kawhi just because I want to see what his grip strength is like.
Okay. All right. I like that. I'm gonna fight LeBron. I think that's the biggest challenge out of those guys.
Right.
But I think you're gonna gain the most off of fighting LeBron out of those guys. And then I'm gonna corner Kawhi. I want to see Kawhi's in between round vibes, and roll with KD. Just play with him, control his wrists, and see what 8 feet of limbs looks like when it doesn't know what to do. All right, now we got 3 of the best. All respect to Matt Hughes, him not being included. 3 of the best welterweights right here: GSP, Kamaru, and Tyron.
Okay, so if I'm fighting any one of those 3. Why don't you go first?
I'm going to fight, I got to say GSP, I guess. Because I want that experience, Whereas Tyron, you're either going to get Tyron not showing up or you're gonna wake up because you just got hit with a bomb.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, I'm gonna fight GSP for the experience. I'm gonna corner Kamaru because you kind of know what you're gonna get with him, and Tyron, you know, I'm gonna roll with Tyron. Yeah, not for really any reason.
All right, so I'm going to take this somewhere else. I'm going to fight Tyron just because I feel like I'm going to be the one backing up, and so I think we're both going to just stay on the opposite sides of the octagon for the whole fight.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 25 minutes of literally just us on the opposite sides. So we won't ever actually throw a punch.
Right.
I'm going to corner GSP.
Okay.
Because I want to sabotage him. I'm going to be the coach that says to do the wrong thing. I'm going to try to give him advice, and my goal. Let me say that again. I want to give GSP an advice that ends up winning him the fight, because then that can give me a pay bump as a coach.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say a bunch of random nonsense, but if he wins the fight, I'll then go on a podcast and say this is what I told him.
Yeah.
And that's why he won.
Now you're like looked at in the realm of Mike Perry's girlfriend.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Which is really what I
One of the just debut at the highest level and undefeated MMA.
2-0 actually.
Yeah, 2-0.
Yeah.
That nightclub.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't see the other guys. But
yeah.
Anyway. And I'm rolling with Kamaru just because he's, I think, one of the best grapplers in that division. But I want to see if his jiu-jitsu is really black belt level.
Yeah.
Because he has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but I'm interested in
Is
seeing...
he a black belt wrestler?
Correct.
Is he a black belt?
I want to see that.
Yeah.
And lastly, we have Paige Van Zandt, Misha Tate, and our significant other. So my wife, your girlfriend. I'm going to go first on this. So I have to first make a disclaimer. Are we giving our significant other like a 3-stripe white belt knowledge of jiu-jitsu, or is it them right now as they stand?
I mean, I guess they could have like a fight camp. Like they could have 8 weeks to prepare.
8 weeks to prepare for a role?
For any of these situations. Or if you corner them, they also get 8 weeks.
I'd roll with my wife, mainly because I would not want to see her fight. I wouldn't want to fight her.
Yeah.
We already do that. And then I wouldn't want to corner her and watch her fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably roll with my significant other.
Yeah.
Now, Paige is tough because I feel like I would want to corner Paige. Because then I'm getting an immediate bump in Instagram followers. I can be around the pictures, just kind of show up. Maybe I get a tag.
Yeah.
Maybe I get tagged on her Instagram.
Yeah.
And that'll immediately boost my followers, boost the followers for this channel. All of a sudden, we're skyrocketing.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it for us. And then Misha Tate I'm rolling with, because what is Misha Tate's jiu-jitsu level? I think it's good. Pretty sure she has...
good enough to choke out Holly Holm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she has good, she's a high belt.
High level.
And I feel like Misha Tate would be a very fun... No, I already rolled with her. I would have to fight Misha Tate, is what I'm saying. So Misha Tate I have to fight, which I don't want to do.
Yeah.
I feel like Misha's a very nice person.
Yeah, she's nice, and
But
she's a savage.
Yeah, and she'll kill me. So I'll have to fight her. That's what I'm going with.
All right, respect. So, I'm going to fight Paige. I'm gonna fight Paige because
Very honorable.
Yeah, I'm not trying to corner her because she's probably gonna get. It depends, because now it's probably gonna be in Bellator, so nobody's gonna see it.
They're back on Friday, by the way.
Back on Friday. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I heard everyone say it. I didn't know it either.
So yeah, I'm fighting Paige. Just gonna, try and build that up pre-fight. I think we could have like a good a body image battle. I actually have a shoot with the Sports Illustrated swimsuit for this year. We'll both be Sports Illustrated alumni at that point.
That's great.
Yeah. So I think we have. It's going to be the curviest motherfucker title we're fighting for.
Yeah, or I mean, I guess the baddest applies as well. Like
the baddest.
The baddest. Who's the baddest?
I would say curviest would be
curviest
more
is better.
marketable, yeah.
Okay.
Because I think when I think of you, and I did like baddest or
You
curvy,
think thick.
I think curvy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah, that's what I think. First
Okay.
thing comes to my head.
All right.
Right.
So me and Paige for the curviest motherfucker championship, and then we've got Miesha Tate and Abby. So I'm gonna roll with Miesha. I want that Ronda Rousey experience. She's been submitted by Ronda. She had her arm snapped by Ronda. I'm gonna take that grappling experience, and Abby, I'm gonna get her right, bro.
You're gonna prepare her?
Yeah.
She's gonna win a title?
We're coming.
All right.
Henry Cejudo, you're taking everything we're working for. Abby's coming for that belt.
That intergender.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up the DOC.
Yeah.
Disciples of Combat podcast. We hope you enjoyed it.
Hope you enjoyed our first studio appearance, our YouTube debut.
Yeah, check out the studio.
Yeah. It's a work in progress, but we think it's a respectable one at that.
Yep. Remember to like, share, and comment below who you are picking for Fight Night. Whittaker and Till. We will see you next week. Any last words?
That's it. We're out.